They say snowboarding is freedom, flying down the mountain, carving into powder, flipping through the air. From the outside, it looks like pure adrenaline and joy. But behind the highlight reels, the medals, and the Instagram clips, there's another side. A side that almost nobody talks about. The truth is, it actually sucks to be a snowboarder. And if you think that sounds dramatic, wait until you hear why. Every snowboarder knows the unspoken reality. You live in constant pain. The sport doesn't just test your limits, it erases them. Knees, shoulders, backs broken, torn, dislocated. It's not if you'll get injured, it's when. And every time you get back up, you're playing roulette with your own body. A single mistake, a bad landing, a hidden patch of ice. And suddenly your season, sometimes your career is gone. But the injuries, that's just the surface. What most people don't see is the grind. That leads up to those highlight moments, training on icy mountains in sub-zero weather, waking up when it's still pitch black to hike up slopes with boards strapped across your shoulders, lifting weights in gyms that are colder than most freezers, and you don't just do it once. You repeat it every single day, over and over and over. Snowboarding doesn't care about balance. It doesn't care about mental health. It doesn't care about your social life. It takes everything. You miss holidays, you miss birthdays, you miss entire seasons of life, while your friends are posting beach trips and parties. You're icing your knees in a hotel room halfway across the world. And when you do finally scroll through your feed, you're reminded of how far away you are from normal life. That's the hidden loneliness of this sport, the isolation that nobody warns you about. And then comes the pressure, not just from coaches or competitions, but from the world watching you through a screen. Social media has turned snowboarding into a content machine. Every flip, every rail, every trick is recorded, judged, replayed in slow motion. If you stick the landing, congratulations, you're viral. But if you fail, that's a clip that lives forever. The internet never forgets. And for athletes who are already battling the fear of injury and the weight of expectation, that digital spotlight can feel suffocating. And here's where it gets even heavier. The mental health crisis in snowboarding is real. The outside world sees the medals, the smiles, the sponsorships. But beneath that surface are sleepless nights, panic attacks, depression that builds after every crash and every failure. We're living in a time when athletes are finally starting to speak up about burnout, about anxiety, about the crushing mental toll of their sports. And snowboarding, as much as it embodies freedom on the slopes, is also chained down by those same invisible struggles. The industry doesn't help. Sponsorships run this world, and sponsors don't want injuries. They don't want mental health breaks. They want content. They want medals. They want athletes who can perform like machines no matter the cost. And if you can't, there's always another rider ready to take your spot. One bad season, one slip up, and you can go from the next big thing to completely forgotten. That's how fast the machine chews you up. Think about it. A snowboarder's career is brutally short. Bodies wear out fast. By your late 20s, early 30s, you're already old in the sport. Compare that to athletes in other fields who peak much later. Snowboarding demands your prime, your youth, your best years. And when it's over, most riders are left with scars, broken bones, maybe a few sponsorship checks that didn't stretch far enough. Then comes the question nobody wants to face. What happens next? And it's not just the body, it's identity. Snowboarding isn't just something you do, it becomes who you are. Every sacrifice you've made, school, relationships, other careers, it all funnels into being a snowboarder. But when that ends, when the board gets hung up for good, a lot of athletes spiral. Because if you're not the rider anymore, then who are you? But let's get even more personal here. Imagine standing at the top of a half-pipe in front of thousands of fans. Cameras in your face. The commentators already hyping you up as the future of the sport. You've trained for years for this one run. And you know deep down that one slip can not only ruin your chance at gold, but destroy your body in a way that you'll never fully recover from. That's the kind of pressure that few can even comprehend. And yet, snowboarders keep going back out. Why? Because as much as it sucks, snowboarding is addictive. It's an obsession. The feeling of landing a new trick, of flying weightless through the air, of carving through untouched powder, those moments are pure magic. And they're just enough to make all the pain, all the sacrifice feel worth it. Until the cycle repeats. The high never lasts. The fall always comes. And in 2025, the pressure has only grown. The rise of AI and training has added a new layer of expectation. Snowboarders are now compared not just to each other, but to algorithmic predictions of perfect performance. Coaches study AI models that break down every movement, every jump, every landing. It's no longer enough to be great, you have to be flawless. Or at least match what the machine says you should be. And if you can't, you're underperforming. This isn't just a sport anymore. It's a battleground between human grit and digital perfection, and snowboarders are caught in the middle. For fans, snowboarding is highlight reels and Olympic glory. For snowboarders, it's bruises hidden under baggy clothes, broken bones taped just tight enough to keep riding, endless slights, freezing places, and the constant nagging voice in your head asking, what if I crash today? So why does it suck to be a snowboarder? Because it costs everything. Your body, your mind, your relationships, your sense of self. And even when you win, when you stand on top of the podium, you know the clock is already ticking. You know that the sport will take more from you than it will ever give back. But here's the paradox. It also gives you something you can't find anywhere else. Freedom, yes, but also identity, brotherhood, moments of beauty so pure they almost make the suffering worth it. Almost. Because the truth, being a snowboarder means living in that razor-thin space between joy and agony. And no matter how good it looks on camera, behind the scenes, it sucks. They say snowboarding is freedom, that carving through powder feels like flying, that landing a trick after hours of pain and failure makes it all worth it. And sometimes, that's true. For a fleeting second, it feels like magic. But those moments are seconds. The struggle, that's yours, because when you're a snowboarder, nothing is guaranteed. You can lose your season in a single slip, one fall on an icy rail, one misjudged landing, one tiny mistake in a sport that punishes mistakes more than almost any other. And when you're out, you're out. There's no paycheck, no guaranteed contract, no security. You're forgotten until you're back. And if you don't come back, you're just another name in a long list of riders who have potential but disappeared. It sucks. Because this sport isn't built for longevity. Your body can only take so much pounding. Knees, backs, shoulders, every snowboarder has a laundry list of injuries before they're even 25. And the scariest part, nobody tells you what happens after. When the cameras move on, when the sponsors stop sending boards, when the world forgets your name, that silence after the applause, that's the hardest landing of all. Ask any retired snowboarder what the transition feels like. They'll tell you, it's like free falling. Your whole identity was tied to the snow, and suddenly, you're not there anymore. You're scrolling Instagram, watching younger riders post highlights, wondering if you were ever really that good. The mental crash is brutal. That's why now, more than ever, athletes are finally speaking out. The mental health revolution in pro sports isn't just a buzzword, it's survival. Snowboarders are learning to say, I'm not okay, and that's okay. But the irony, that vulnerability doesn't always translate into security. Sponsors love a redemption story, not a reality check. They'll plaster your broken body across campaigns if it sells. But when you need help, when you need therapy, or rehab funding, or just a break, silence. The industry thrives on chewing up talent and moving to the next, and riders know it. That's why so many burn out young. It sucks because snowboarding is expensive, ridiculously expensive. Gear, travel, lift passes, contest fees. Even if you're talented, if you don't have money or a sponsor, you're fighting uphill. The rich kid advantage is real. They can afford coaching, endless practice, global competitions. Meanwhile, the broke but gifted rider is hustling, working part-time jobs, trying to scrape enough to buy a ticket to the mountain. It's a sport where talent doesn't always rise, it's who can afford to stay in the game. And let's talk about climate change. Snowboarders are the frontline witnesses, shorter winters, unpredictable snow, mountains losing their magic. You can't practice if the snow melts. You can't host contests if the conditions are dangerous. For a sport born in powder, the very ground beneath it is disappearing. Riders now travel further, burn more money, just to find snow. The irony is painful, chasing the dream while watching the world erase the stage you need to perform. It also sucks because of how invisible the grind really is. The average fan sees a 10-second clip of a perfect run. They don't see the 99 failed attempts. Before it, they don't see the blood on the snow, the frustration, the broken boards. They don't see the endless waiting for the right conditions, waiting for sponsors to call, waiting for your body to heal. Snowboarding teaches patience, yes, but patience often feels like punishment. And then there's the culture of comparison. Social media has made every rider a content creator. It's not enough to ride, you have to film, edit, post, brand, market. You have to worry about likes, views, engagement. Suddenly, you're competing not just against the world's best, but against algorithms, against trends, against the endless demand for something new, something crazier. And when you can't keep up, you feel like you don't exist. Snowboarders talk about it all the time in private. The silent exhaustion, the burnout, the way snowboarding feels less like joy and more like a job you can never clock out from. But they keep smiling for the cameras, because if you don't look happy, if you don't look stoked, the industry moves on without you. That pressure to perform emotionally, not just physically, is crushing. And yet, in spite of it all, snowboarders keep riding. Why? Because when it works, when you stick the landing, when you carve that perfect line, when you feel the board float through powder, it's unlike anything else. It's addictive. It's the high. That keeps them enduring the lows. That contradiction, that love-hate relationship is the real story of snowboarding. Snowboarding sucks because it demands everything. Your body, your money, your time, your soul. And in return, it gives you fleeting moments of transcendence. A sport that makes you sacrifice nearly everything for the chance to feel alive, for the chance to defy gravity, if only for a few seconds. That's why it sucks. And that's why, somehow, they can't stop. So, the next time you watch a highlight reel, remember what you're really seeing. You're seeing pain dressed as glory. You're seeing sacrifice edited into perfection. You're seeing years of broken bones behind one perfect trick. You're seeing a human who gave everything for a sport that gave nothing back but fleeting moments of magic. That's why, really, it sucks to be a snowboarder. But maybe that's a secret. Maybe snowboarding isn't supposed to be easy. Maybe it's supposed to hurt. Maybe it's supposed to break you. Because only then, only through the struggle, do you really feel those rare moments of flight. So here's the question. Would you do it? Would you give everything for seconds of magic? That's the choice snowboarders make every day. Smash that like button if you've ever rooted for an underdog. Drop your favorite snowboarder's name in the comments. We want to know who inspires you. And don't forget to subscribe, because tomorrow, we've got a story about an athlete's struggle that'll make this one look like a warm-up.